I received a comment that someone was a little bit confused about taping and finishing an inside drywall corner. So here is a second look, a closer look. Enjoy. This is a 4-inch drywall knife. Notice that it does not have 90-degree corners on either side or each of the outside edges. It's very good for applying tape or mud to the first coat. This is a 6-inch drywall knife. Notice that the outside edges have a 90-degree corner. This 90-degree corner is what I use to make the corner or to establish the corner. I'd like to talk about feathering. Feathering is not plucking a chicken. It's taking the edge of your drywall mud down to a very fine edge. To feather, twist your drywall knife to one side or the other like this. Here's a demonstration. I'll pick up some mud with the knife and apply it to the drywall. Ooh, that looks a little junky. Let's clean that up. Now I will apply pressure to the left side. And now to the right side. And now a smoothing pass right down the middle. Now I'll do it again. The right side, and then the left side. Notice the little ridge that it left down the center. And a smoothing pass. Now let's just clean this off. In this video, I'll be doing a dry and a wet demonstration. I am also using a fiberglass mesh tape. The mesh tape is applied first. Secure the tape deep into the corner. It's sticky on one side and should stick to the drywall. Problem is, the drywall might be dusty, so broom it off with a soft kitchen-type broom. Make sure that the tape is set or secure into position. Apply your first coat with a 4-inch drywall knife. This is called the tape coat. Apply it to each side. Apply the mud or the joint compound. It looks like mud, right? Okay, so I'm just going to use the word mud. So apply your mud to each side of the joint and make sure you clean it up and give yourself as clean a joint as possible. Make sure you feather any edges that you may have and let it dry. Now the mud will penetrate through the mesh and secure itself or bond itself to the drywall and makes a very good joint when it's done. Once your tape coat is set, secure, and dry, if you're using speed set, it doesn't have to be dry, it just has to be set up. Once it's set up, apply mud to each side of the joint. Remember that the 6-inch drywall knife has a 90-degree corner on each side. So establish the corner with that 90-degree edge. Immediately follow after that with a cleanup pass. The third coat, apply the mud to both sides. Remember, on the second coat, you used the one side to establish the corner, and then you cleaned up. On this pass, you want to use the other side to establish the corner, and then clean up the other side of the joint. And then make sure that you haven't left any ridges, and make sure you feather the edges. Okay, I have the mesh tape installed, and this is the tape coat. And I'm using a 20-minute speed set joint compound. And I apply the joint compound, aka mud, to each side of the joint and clean it up as best that I can. Try to feather out the edges and not leave any ridges. It's important not to leave any ridges. Remember, anything you can take off without sanding it off, the better off you'll be. I often say the word tooling it down or tooling it out or tooling it. That's because the drywall knife is a tool. And as I tool it down and get it flat, that's tooling. And make sure you feather the edges. And in between coats, clean up as much debris, any drywall mud that kind of rolled up behind the blade. Just kind of scrape it down a little bit. Make sure that all that debris is removed. Here's the secret that most people don't tell you. After you've applied mud to both sides of your joint, the first pass is the pass that establishes the corner. The second pass with the knife on the other side is a cleanup pass. You do not go into the corner with the knife you hold it on the outside and you just cleaning up the opposite side. Then once that sets up, you switch sides. You establish the pass side on the side that was opposite your first pass, and your cleanup is opposite of your first cleanup pass. And so you're just switching sides. And by switching sides, you're establishing a proper corner, and you're able to get it a much cleaner corner than you normally would. And in between coats, clean up as much debris, any little nicks, any little burrs, anything that might have been left behind, any drywall mud that kind of rolled up behind the blade. Just kind of scrape it down a little bit. Make sure that all that debris is removed. Third coat. Here I've already got the mud applied to both sides. On this coat, I'm establishing the corner on the opposite side. Now take the drywall knife and clean up the other side without taking the knife into the corner that you just established. And feather out any ridges that you might have left behind. You may have to touch up any rough spots. Now let it all dry. When it comes to drywall, you always need to sand something. The issue is trying not to put too much on that you have to sand it all off. When it does come to sanding, I like to use these sanding sponges. They have a 45-degree angle on one side, which allows you to get right into the corner and sand the corner without messing up the other side too much. In my previous video, I talked about taking a light and lighting your work. This allows you to see any flaws that you might have created along the way and either do some touch-up work on them or to sand them out a little bit better. Remember, there's always going to be flaws. I don't care who does the work. None of us are perfect. The goal is to get it as close as you can. When you're sanding, try not to sand into the paper. The paper, it'll stir up a whole bunch of fibers and it will become a little bit difficult. But however, that can be overcome when you prime it and that dries. You can sand out your fibers with one of these sponges and still get yourself a nice, clean, smooth face on your drywall work. In this sample, the drywall paper was oversanded, primed, and then painted, leaving a very rough surface. However, a little bit of sanding will smooth this off. All I need to do now is paint it again, and we've got a nice, smooth, flat wall. I hope this has been informative. Subscribe and keep up to date with all of my video posts. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.